Yo, welcome back to Eat, Sleep, Breathe, Hoops with your boy, Nikki P. Thanks for tapping in. You know what it is, man. Let's dive right into it. About to get into the top 10 greatest, best, GOAT coaches of all time when it comes to this NBA game, man. So let's dive right into it. Starting for number 10, Eric Spoelstra, the Miami mastermind. The path that led Eric Spoelstra to become one of the top coaches of his generation is truly unique. Arriving in Miami in 1997 as a video coordinator with little expectation of a long tenure, he quickly became a crucial figure for the franchise. First as Pat Riley's top assistant, and later as his successor. Having Filipino ancestry on his mother's side, Spoelstra also became the first Asian American head coach in NBA history. At the helm of the Miami Heat, Spoelstra has led the team to 6 NBA Finals appearances, winning 2 NBA titles during the Big Three era when the Heat featured LeBron James, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh. With over 750 regular season wins, Spoelstra continues to be regarded as one of the best coaches of his generation. Despite the challenges of recent years, Spoelstra has consistently kept the Heat competitive, often exceeding expectations. Number 9, Larry Brown, the turnaround specialist. Larry Brown has been perhaps the best coach in NBA history, taking teams that had been mediocre up to the time of his arrival and turning them into successful top-tier franchises. In almost all of his NBA head coaching experiences, Brown arrived in losing context and within a short time turned those teams around into playoff contenders. It happened with the San Antonio Spurs, then with the Los Angeles Clippers, and later with the Indiana Pacers and Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, Brown reached his first NBA Finals as a head coach, guiding Allen Iverson's Sixers to the finals against Kobe and Shaq's Lakers. Despite a complex relationship with AI, Brown brought out the best in one of the greatest guards of all time, who would later confess that Brown had been the number one coach he had ever had in his career. Brown's real masterpiece, however, came with the Detroit Pistons, arriving to replace Rick Carlisle, who had taken the Pistons to the conference finals. Brown immediately won the NBA title in his first season as a head coach, sweeping the Los Angeles Lakers 4-0. Got the brooms out on him. His team lacked a true superstar, but the leadership players like Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton, the defensive tenacity of Ben Wallace and Tayshaun Prince, and the unbridled talent of Rasheed Wallace created an unbeatable mix that year. To date, Brown is the only head coach to have won both an NBA and NCAA title, another accomplishment that surely places him among the best coaches in the league history. Number 8, Jerry Sloan, the Iron Man of Utah. When we talk about the best NBA coaches of all time, it's almost impossible not to mention Jerry Sloan. Even though he never won an NBA title during his career, his consistency over the years was a rare achievement. Sloan coached the Utah Jazz for an impressive 23 years, Jordan on them. Ironically, he was getting beat by Jordan, but hey, that's the only reason he ain't got a title. But he led them to 15 consecutive playoff runs from 1988 to 2003. That's a crazy accomplishment right there. During his time with the Jazz, Utah only missed the playoffs 3 times. They reached the conference finals 6 times and made 2 NBA Finals appearances, losing both to MJ and the Chicago Bulls. Sloan, who passed away in 2020, finished his NBA career with more than 1,200 regular season wins. He is widely regarded as one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time to have never won an NBA title. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009, Sloan was named one of the NBA's 15 greatest coaches in 2022. Number 7, Chuck Daly, the Bad Boys architect. Between the mid-1980s and the early 1990s, Chuck Daly's name became inextricably linked with the Detroit Pistons. From 87 to 90, the Pennsylvania-born coach led the Pistons to 3 consecutive NBA Finals, winning 2 out of 3. Not a bad clip. Even today, his Pistons are remembered as one of the league's most iconic teams. The Bad Boys Pistons made physicality and intense defense their defining characteristics. Daly implemented an extreme physical defense to contain the GOAT of basketball, Michael Jordan, and the Chicago Bulls, while leaving the offense in the hands of Isaiah Thomas, one of the most creative point guards in NBA history. He was also the head coach of the legendary Dream Team, the first U.S. Olympic basketball team to feature NBA superstars, which dominated the '92 Barcelona Olympics. Daly coached the New Jersey Nets, the Orlando Magic, and Cleveland Cavaliers during his NBA career. He retired with more than 630 regular season wins on him. And, he's up there with the GOATs, and that's why he's on this list. Number 6, Don Nelson, the innovative pioneer, man. Don Nelson was a true pioneer of the game of basketball. He introduced the concept of the point forward, often using untraditional lineups without the presence of a traditional big man, and made massive use of trades to change his rosters. In his years in Milwaukee, he was consistently one of the best coaches in the league. Still, he had the misfortune of always finding himself against Larry Bird's Boston Celtics or Dr. J's 76ers in the playoffs. Don Nelson, man, legend. During his time with the Dallas Mavericks, he was able to turn the franchise's fortunes around. He was the initiator of the trade that brought both Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash to Dallas, turning the team into one of the best in the Western Conference. With more than 1,300 regular season wins on him, he was the winningest coach in NBA history. His record was only surpassed in 2022 by Greg Popovich. Although he never won an NBA title, his impact on the league was unquestionable. Nelson was a true trailblazer of the times. Number 5, Steve Kerr, the Warriors revolutionary. Shout out to Mark Jackson, who, formed the precipice in the initial starting point and the initial nucleus of what came into be one of the biggest powerhouses of this generation. So we can't leave him out when we talk about this Warriors legacy. But back to Steve Kerr. We talk about the most recent era in the NBA. No coach has had a greater influence on the evolution of the game than Steve Kerr. His Golden State Warriors have literally revolutionized the way basketball is played across the league and across the world, with an ever-increasing emphasis on fast-paced offense and long-range three-point shooting, for the better or the worse. What's most striking about Steve Kerr's success is that his legacy was far from guaranteed. When he first arrived on the Warriors bench, Kerr was a rookie coach coming off a challenging tenure as the GM of Phoenix Suns. Despite a solid playing career, few believed he could become a world-class head coach. But when you come into that type of situation and, you already got a well-oiled ship, it's the best situation you could come into as a new young head coach. So Kerr proved the skeptics wrong. He led the Golden State Warriors to 5 consecutive NBA Finals, the second longest streak in league history. In the 2015-16 season, he coached the Warriors to a record-breaking 73-win regular season. Under his leadership, Golden State, historically a struggled franchise, has won 4 chips, 2015, 17, 18, and 22. And Kerr's championship count could have been even higher if not for a phenomenal performance by LeBron in 2016. Beyond his on-court achievements, Kerr has established himself as a prominent voice in American sports, often speaking out on sensitive and social issues such as gun control. Number 4, Pat Riley, the Showtime maestro. Pat Riley won 4 of his 5 NBA titles with the Showtime Los Angeles Lakers, playing spectacular basketball that thrilled LA fans and, quite honestly, really kept the game of basketball alive. During the rest of his career, Riley was able to adapt to quite different styles of play and still managed to achieve great results, as he did with the Knicks and to some extent with the Miami Heat. In Miami, Riley also became one of the most highly regarded executives in the entire league, able to build a true dynasty out there in Florida. But Pat Riley's greatness also lies in his image. In the 80s, during the success of his Lakers, he became popularized for his unique style, the slick-back hairstyle and the Armani suits. At nearly 80 years old, Riley is still one of the most recognizable figures in the entire NBA and continues to inspire young coaches. Number 3, Red Auerbach, the dynasty builder. Red Auerbach was probably the first head coach in the league's history to build a true dynasty. Between the 50s and the 60s, his Boston Celtics were simply unstoppable. During Auerbach's tenure, the Boston Celtics won a record 8 NBA titles in a row from 1958 to 1966. Auerbach also won another NBA title in the 1956-57 season, bringing his total to 9 NBA titles. When he retired in 1966, Auerbach was the winningest coach in league history, and his record remained unbroken until 1995, nearly 30 years later. In his years with the Celtics, Auerbach coached true legends of the game, including Bill Russell, arguably one of the best centers of all time, as well as Bob Cousy and John Havlicek. He was also one of the first coaches in NBA history to emphasize the game's psychological aspect, succeeding in convincing some of his stars to prioritize teamwork to overcome more individualistic champions like Wilt Chamberlain. Only Phil Jackson could surpass Auerbach in total NBA titles won, but the former Celtics head coach's impact on the league was likely even more significant than Jackson's. That's up for debate, as you can see. If even today we consider the Boston Celtics one of the most important franchises in league history, it's become the mark that Red Auerbach left on the franchise. Number 2, Greg Popovich, man. Y'all know who that is. The basketball philosopher, 5-time NBA champion, and 3-time Coach of the Year are definitely impressive numbers, but they're still unable to describe the greatness of Coach Greg Popovich completely, especially doing it all with the same franchise. Coach Pop has been associated with the San Antonio Spurs since '96 and is one of the longest tenured NBA coaches ever. Popovich has changed the franchise fortunes through his work, turning it into one of the strongest and most respected franchises to ever touch the game of basketball. Now he's the winningest NBA coach of all time, with 1,395 victories under his belt. But beyond his work on the court, Popovich has also become one of the most appreciated personalities in the entire sports world, with his sense of humor and ability to deal with even very serious topics. We can only wish him a speedy recovery after the illness that struck him a few weeks ago. At least, number 1, that boy, Phil Jackson, the Zen master of championships. To complete this list, Phil Jackson simply the winningest coach in NBA history with 11 of them things, man. Certainly cannot be absent and might be even considered as the best NBA coach of all time, which is why I have him number 1 on this list. Jackson coached 3 of the best players in the history of the game, between Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal. He was able to get superstars of superstars, the elite of the elite, to be able to lock in and, all adapt to one single vision to successfully and highly execute that triangle offense, which led to them chips. Nowadays, players don't really have the patience to fully learn the intricate details of a triangle offense that could, lead to long-term success. Everybody wants the instant oatmeal right now instead of throwing it in the pot and letting it simmer and cook up. Phil Jackson is the only coach in NBA history to have achieved 3-peats in his career, 2 with the Bulls and 1 with the Los Angeles Lakers. His ability to also psychologically manage players with the Zen approach made him a true legend of the game. Phil Jackson is synonymous with success and greatness, and it is impossible not to mention them when talking about the best coaches in NBA history. So yeah, there you have it, the top 10 greatest coaches of all time. What y'all think? Y'all think somebody's missing from the list? Y'all think the list needs to be reordered a little bit? Let me know what you think. Hop in that comment section. Let's chop it up, man. Once again, it's your boy, Nicky P. This is Eat, Sleep, Breathe, the Hoops. And you know what it is, man. Until the next time, and go follow me on Spotify, too. This is Nicky P. But until the next time, peace.